evil exists to the rubes.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it holy.
Exactly.
It's a divine purpose. It's the mandate of a cruel and callous old faith God. Because if you honestly believe that new King James bullshit, you're lying to yourself.
Look, how dare you talk about Yahweh that way?
They're doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural, and this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order, and that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry.
Well, here's the thing, man. Spoilers! Jesus, this...
I think Ayrton's lab testing the ability to feed things into the stream.
Possibly.
Oh, sorry. Are you guys not enjoying the opening song for the cold open?
Wait, that's the cold open song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Turn it off. I hate everything about that.
This is the best part, though.
I don't care. I don't like it.
But she smells like sulfur. People have told him that.
Somebody turn Ayrton into a pillar of salt.
I mean, I would, but I don't have my dice pool is not big enough.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine.
But no. Spoilers for World of Darkness stuff. After this season, when we take some downtime and we do some other games.
Yeah, we'll be reconvening after Christmas after this next session, I think.
Yeah. If we decide to revisit the Gospel of the Chronicles of Darkness, I would much prefer to go a little bit deeper into the world by focusing on a given supernatural type rather than playing mortals and just being exposed to the weird. Which would also, by extension, include you guys making characters that are actual characters. Because it can happen.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the idea,
though.
I kind of like the idea of a disgruntled ex-police officer who's also a cybernetic asshole punching supernatural things in the face because he's just tired of this bullshit.
Oh no, it's totally good. It's totally good. And you could probably still do that. It's just like...
I don't know if you picked up on that or not,
to...
Rune, but that's literally my answer to everything because I'm just too old. I'm Riggs.
No, I get
I'm Riggs from fucking Lethal Weapon.
No, you're not Riggs. No, you're Murphy.
All right,
no.
Right.
You're just a very tired RoboCop. You're the 10,000 peso man.
Now, can I be a character that no matter what kind of firearm it is, like it could be an airsoft gun or just like a model, like wall hanger, like antique display gun, it still shoots real bullets even if I think there's not real ones in there?
I mean, I think that would be more of a mage character.
No, you can do that with
a changeling character.
No, you can do that with a werewolf.
All right.
Werewolves and changelings can both do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Alec Baldwin was a werewolf then.
Well, here's the thing. Various supernatural types.
I'll say hello, Moody. Fuck the rest of you guys in your fucking point.
No,
Moody.
Hi, Moody. Hey, Moody. I didn't see you there.
I was looking up to see who it was, but we got on a side conversation. But hey, we got a Moody.
Darkness. That's basically like my summoning chat, you know.
Yeah, it is.
We say World of Darkness 3 times, and a Moody shows up.
Pretty much.
Well, when you say World of Darkness 3 times, I'll fucking show up. It's more a question of do you summon the dream demons? But no, I was gonna say there are several supernatural types that have basically the ability to create magic items, right? So you just declare that it has with mechanics that it's a magic item that never runs out of ammunition, that always fires an ammunition of some sort, and that ammunition deals lethal damage. And it's like, at that point, you don't even have to fire bullets. You could be firing a Nerf gun with Nerf darts that'll kill people.
No, but I meant like, I don't know that it's going to shoot lethal bullets, but it always does.
No, if you make the item, you probably know what it does.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was suggesting that's more of a mage or a changeling thing.
I mean, somebody else could hand him a gun and he could not know what it does.
That is entirely true. They can hand you a gun and be like, bleed on this when you need it to work. and just walk away.
And it only works on production assistants.
If someone could walk up and hand you a Nerf gun and be like, handle this with care, Nerf wars are dangerous.
I mean, at that point you are in fact looking at a mage thing, because you're making a bane for production assistants.
Okay.
You're making a thing that is only lethal to production assistants.
Alright.
Which would be awful, and shame on you. And the question is, are you trying to suggest that it was an inside job and that Alec Baldwin is the fall guy for a wizard with a grudge?
No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm outright saying it. No.
Or are you suggesting that Alec Baldwin is the wizard?
No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm outright saying it, that it was an inside job and somebody was out for a grudge.
I mean, if we're using Old World of Darkness mage, I would say obviously it's a combination job by the New World Order and the Syndicate, trying to promote meme magic to counter people's desire to own firearms.
Yeah,
using
and they
Alec
smell
Baldwin to channel the magical energy.
And they smell like salt, and they smell like sulfur and eat babies.
What the fuck are you nerds
What I want to know is,
about?
for the purposes of this show, is Ayrton the production assistant?
I mean, I don't really give him a title because I don't pay him. He just shows up and does whatever he wants to, and I'm happy to have somebody here.
So
he's an intern, is what you're saying.
So hold up.
No, he's the closest thing I have to a friend.
We are totally live.
Oh God. So
yeah, that's basically mine and Church's relationship.
So believe it or not, guys, we actually have content planned for today.
We do.
Oh yeah, I have to yell at you, Larry.
Well, first we
Any
need to roll the
particular
actual
reason?
intro, or I'm just going to keep playing Alex
because
Jones
of Miles
songs.
Morales.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Miles Morales.
Wait a minute. I know what you said, but am I the only one who heard you say Miles Cialis?
I mean, clearly that's what Miles' dad needed to.
No, that's what I put an order in for with my pharmacist, but it has nothing to do with this conversation. Yes, doctor, can I get a mile of Cialis? I have such a hard-on after I won that case, Your Honor. It was all my brilliance, and it definitely wasn't the prosecution gave it up wholeheartedly.
I was waiting for it.
So let's roll that footage.
Roll that beautiful bean. Shit, I gotta find it. There we go.
Proving yet again that we are totally a professional gig.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably the wrong one, but I think...
Didn't the bot change over?
Yeah, it did. It's probably... I don't think this is the wrong one.
That put to sea, the name of the stock was GME. The bully boys hold.
Soon may the Tindy men come to bring us Scotland to the sun.
One day when the trading is done, we'll take our gains and go.
This isn't it, is it?
Been 2 weeks from shore when Ryan Cohen joined the board.
This isn't the intro. It's the wrong one.
Swore he'd take his shares.
It's still a good one.
We're so excellent. We know exactly what we're doing around here.
I was about to say, I love your new intro.
There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Hello,
that opening
everyone.
is
Yes.
That opening is still so full of lies. Nothing humble happens here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, your humble host. And joining me, as always, are my caveat of co-hosts that apparently don't know their place. So,
I mean, I do. I'm in my chair. I'm in my
That's
desk.
right. That's right. We
I mean, is it because Rune's a furry that you're saying he doesn't know his place?
I mean, it's obviously in the doghouse, right?
Send me to the kennel. Send me to the glue factory.
Look,
Well,
Rune,
the kennel would be what would happen if we asked Mitt Romney to pick you up and take you on a drive.
yeah.
No, if Mitt Romney picked me up, took me on a drive, I'd be at Epstein's Island. That's an entirely different problem.
No.
Sorry. I'm interrupting this for a second. There is seriously not a single auto-tune like rap song from this trial at all. I am scouring YouTube for it.
Yes, there is.
But
it's not on YouTube. It's not on YouTube. It's on Lofty Pixel's Twitter feed. I'll send you a link. Go ahead. Continue doing what you're doing.
All right.
We were haranguing Rune about his furriness.
I mean, sure.
So there was
don't go to China during the dog meat festival, Rune.
So there was a scandal involving Mitt Romney and a family trip he took when his kids were younger.
Oh, right.
And they had a family golden retriever, and they didn't have a place to put it, so they put it in a kennel and strapped the kennel on top of the roof while they were driving cross country.
Good God.
Excellent.
So that was the reference I was going for.
Okay. I don't think any of us knew that.
It was a very big deal on the internet back then.
I vaguely remember the story, but that's about it. That it was a thing.
Because a lot of people felt that was cruel to an animal.
I mean, it sounds like it.
I would say eating it is crueler.
Is it? I mean, it's not alive when you're.
I would rather ride on top of a car in a box than be eaten.
I mean, if you look at India, a lot of people use that strategy for riding trains.
True.
I'll just Moody, you're not in the group chat, are you, Moody?
He's not on Twitter.
Okay.
No.
Joe, you get this to Moody, just for posterity's sake. I don't expect him to enjoy it. It's mainly for Ayrton, but I'm giving it.
Throw it in the channel chat. He's in the church Discord.
Yeah,
redonkulous, man.
I don't really want to put this on Discord though, to be completely honest.
Well, then send it private.
So
are you gonna
let me hit play on this while?
Oh yeah,
my audio's pumping through the stream.
Oh God, no! Mute yourself.
I mean, I could just not turn the channel on that this is going through, so it doesn't go out.
Yeah, you don't want this. This doesn't need to play on the stream. I mean, it wasn't me that said it. I mean, you.
Look, we don't want the stream to be shut down by YouTube for reasons.
Right.
Fair.
Right.
No matter how close along the line that this thing gets off in.
Fine. I'll send it in the Discord chat.
I don't know what this thing is that we're talking about, but apparently it's offensive.
I was about to copy and paste it over to Moody.
I just sent it to him.
Okay.
But this is the only auto-tuned rap remix of the Rittenhouse trial that I know about.
Oh.
If you guys want to see it, it's over on Lofty Pixel's Twitter from November 2nd. If you want to look that up. But we're not going to play it live. YouTube doesn't like that. Nick Crackett's got a strike for it, I think.
So, on a somewhat related note, did you see that terrible picture of a black character who we later found out was Miles Morales in a hoodie with Wolverine claws?
Oh, sorry. Jesus Christ, that was amazing. Anyways, sorry. I couldn't wait. I was gonna watch it after the show, but I couldn't wait. That was too good. Anyways, sorry. So Wolverine is black now?
Well, no. They're doing a special What If series called What If Miles Morales is different superhero characters.
Oh yeah, you sent us that.
Just like Gwen Stacy is getting her own Gwenverse.
Well, yeah, it's a similar project.
Yeah, but
Although right now the
Not
Gwenverse
as
is just
gay.
going to be a bunch of cover scams.
Because
Classic
that has
comic book.
always worked for Marvel in the past and never been negatively received.
Does anyone here know anyone that actually reads Gwen Stacy comic books?
no.
Nope.
I
I
used to
mean-
work at a comic book store ordering and selling comic books, and I don't know a single human being that has ever bought a Gwen Stacy comic book besides me. And I only bought them because I got a discount and the covers were halfway decent.
I believe the answer is no human being actually reads Gwen Stacy books.
Yeah, no.
I know
Because-
people who read Gwenpool.
Those aren't people.
No, I'll actually secede that point. I think Gwenpool, rather than Spider Gwen, was a more appealing angle, but I think it should have been like a 4 or 6
See,
issue miniseries. And then put
See, I disagree. I think because I'm sick. I'm also sick of Deadpool. I'm just gonna get this out of here. I hate him at
That's
this
fair.
point.
That
But
is fair.
I think
That's a fair take.
I think Spider Gwen is more interesting just in the fact of doing that whole like character switch concept. Like Gwen Stacy has no connection to Deadpool whatsoever. It's just putting Deadpool on random people.
But
we could
hold up.
make a fucking mushroom Deadpool and people would go crazy for it and shove it up
Hold
their
up.
ass like a goddamn
Oh,
butt
you
hold up,
don't
hold
know
up.
you don't know about Fungpool?
No,
Please tell me that is not. Please tell me that's not a real thing.
that is 100% a real thing.
No, you guys are fucking lying to me. That is not
No,
a real
man.
thing.
That's
I've
a
got
real
a
thing.
pop of it right now.
Jesus.
Put that
Fucking
shit on the
Christ.
stream. We need to see it.
No, nobody needs to see that.
I have never seen this. I need to see it. Make it happen, Church. Put it on the
Larry,
stream.
Larry and I are fucking with Ayrton, Rune.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
apparently you
yeah.
as well.
oh no!
Oh, thank God! I was about to start my shotgun after you guys told me that.
no. I'm not disappointed in that. I'm disappointed it's not real because it's just stupid enough that I can absolutely believe it's real.
See,
Although
I didn't believe
Hold
you,
on.
Church. I didn't believe you by yourself. But when Larry said yes, I was like, God damn it!
and I appreciate Larry for selling them. But
Yeah, yeah.
literally on my shelf right now, I do have regular Deadpool, Lucha Libre Deadpool, Dinosaur Pool, and Chef Deadpool, I believe.
So, also, Ayrton, just to let you know, Gwenpool is not Gwen Stacy.
No.
What?
Her name is Gwenpool.
Yeah.
And she's from the actual Earth.
But it's what?
Yeah, she's from the actual real world.
But it's Gwen Stacy in a pink and white Deadpool
No,
costume.
it's not.
Well, no, you don't remember
Her-
that they
her
had her
name-
DNA. You don't remember that they've had her DNA and have cloned her like 9,000 times, do you?
Right,
What
but-
the Clintons are in the Marvel universe?
Actually, yes, and they were known as the Jackal.
I fucking
But
I fucking hate that the
Gwenpool is not
Clintons are in-
related.
Go ahead, Larry.
Gwenpool is not related to Gwen Stacy in any way. She's
No.
just a kid from Brooklyn who has the magic powers of being able to go inside the comic books.
Then why is her name Gwen? And why does she have blonde hair and blue eyes and look like Gwen Stacy?
Well, she doesn't look like Gwen Stacy, and her name is Gwendolyn.
Isn't that what Gwen's short for?
Not always.
because there's also
I'm
Gwyneth. There's
I'm
also
so confused.
there's
you
also
should
the ultimate answer is this is bad writing. It was always bad writing.
I mean, yeah, Deadpool's been bad writing for 12 years at this point.
Now, the character of Gwenpool was made after Spider-Gwen came out, and everybody said, hey, let's make a Gwen Deadpool. And people said, well, it can't be a Gwen Stacy Deadpool. And they said, no, that would be tacky. It's a character named Gwendolyn Poole. And everybody said, that seems legitimate. And she's from actual Earth, and she can actually see the pages of the comic book, the stories that she's inhabiting exist in.
I hate all of this.
Well, do you guys
I
not remember when they tried to legitimize this idea with Kid Kaiju? To essentially have a character in the Marvel Universe that could alter the state of comic books?
yeah, I get what you're showing me here, Moody, but it still looks like Gwen Stacy just with a short modern haircut.
Right, but Gwen has the weird punk
Moody,
haircut.
you might be muted. I
In-
can't hear you if you're talking.
He's not. No, he posted some pictures in the live show chat, so I'm just responding to it.
But yeah, so the Miles Morales thing. So Miles is a bad character, and he's a bad Spider-Man. He's such a bad Spider-Man that nobody's called him Spider-Man, and now Marvel Comics isn't calling him Spider-Man. And they're saying, you know what, Miles Morales is such a great character. What if he was Wolverine? What if he was Captain America? What if he was some other character you cared about?
So no, because he still has to be Miles. He's the same character, just with
Ayrton.
different powers.
Take a seat. I've got this.
Okay.
Let's go back to the beginning. Okay, we're not talking about Miles Morales in 2021 with what Marvel is doing to gimmick up their characters.
We're going back to the cheeseburger.
No, we're going back even further to the Ultimate Universe when Peter Parker died. And Miles Morales was a secondary Spider-Man created in a similar fashion that just kind of took his place in the Ultimate Universe because Peter Parker was fucking dead. And that was at least that was at least a halfway legitimate origin for a legacy character. And it didn't, because the Ultimate Universe, as a comics fan, I always looked at as almost like fuck, what was that goddamn line of comic books with the kickers in it?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
New Universe?
Yeah, no. I always looked at the Ultimates as a second chance at New Universe, right? Because Ultimates Universe was 1661, and then we had 616. So it was clear in everyone's understanding that these were two completely different universes where the things that were happening weren't meant to be corollary, right? We can agree on that.
To me, the Ultimate Universe was the dumpster outside of prom that all the girls were spending a lot of time around, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. But you know what? They have good weed out by those
And
dumpsters, Larry.
and
you
I
should
did-
open
and
your
I did
mind.
And I did have fun. And I did have fun looking at those when I was in high school.
So
yes, but I was referencing what they would put in the dumpsters.
What, babies?
Yeah, prom night dumpster baby.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
See, now you've just taken the mood down. Why do you have to be such a cynic? No, Ultimates wasn't a good idea, but a few good things came out of Ultimates, and I think Miles Morales is actually one of them, or was for a short period of time. And I have reasons to defend that, but I'll let you make your statements.
So my problem is not so much what happens within the Ultimates universe, is that Miles was, I think, the first example of Brian Michael Bendis saying, look, I have to write my kids into the comic book story. So I have to take my adopted black kid and make my adopted black kid's experience relevant in the comic book to the character I'm writing, and I can't do that if I'm writing white Peter Parker. So they killed off Peter Parker in Ultimates because Brian Michael Bendis was a hack.
But they're
hold
both
on.
orphans.
May I interject real quick?
Yes.
Okay. I don't mind that because it was a clean getaway from, instead of establishing a Peter Parker and then keeping him slightly older than college years for the rest of his life, it was a clean getaway from a Peter Parker that people were tired of reading at that point, honestly.
Except they weren't. They were tired of reading him because they destroyed the character with the Clone Saga.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they were tired of reading him for the right reasons and that there wasn't a way to rehabilitate him. Obviously there was. But what I'm saying is, at that time when the Ultimate Universe first came out, it wasn't a bad idea monetarily to shake things up in the Spider-Man universe without having a fucking clone or a dead girlfriend involved.
See,
Because the Ultimates...
Oh, go ahead.
The Ultimates universe was always a plan for what they wanted to do with the movies long term once they got control of the properties back.
Yeah, And it just failed miserably because people looked at it and said, I don't like any of this.
Well, I mean, Tony Stark more or less was the non-bizarre parts of Tony Stark from the Ultimates.
No, there was absolutely bizarre shit. That Tony Stark supposedly was nothing but brain tissue because his entire nervous system was a brain.
Right.
Which is why he wasn't supposed to drink alcohol.
Yeah, that part was cut out from the movies because that was stupid.
Yeah.
Well, his drinking problem as a whole was just kind of like sideswiped.
I mean,
we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show where we were making
I didn't know
jokes,
Tony was Irish because that's why God invented alcohol, is so the Irish couldn't take over the world because the alcohol interferes with the brain function.
On a serious note, though, in the Devil in a Bottle series, it was a very key moment in Tony Stark's growth as a hero and ability to overcome his human vices and whatnot, leaning towards what we've always talked about, what a superhero is supposed to be in the eyes of a fan, is the ultimate character. He's the one recovered alcoholic that isn't a shit brain about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Except when he is, because they require him to for the plot.
Well, it's the same thing with Wolverine talking about people smoking. Go ahead, Moody.
I always thought that Miles Morales always felt like a kind of younger, predecessor character, kind of akin to a Terry McGinnis, for basically taking over a character who can't really do the job anymore.
Right, but here's the thing. So Miles Morales was originally intended to tell new and interesting stories that they couldn't tell with Peter Parker, and they spent the bulk of the Miles Morales run telling Peter Parker stories
that they told with Peter Parker, except through the lens of a black and brown family.
Right, but they didn't actually do anything significant with the black and brown aspect other than, hey, look, these people are black and brown. There wasn't anything that was informed by that cultural nuance and experience.
Well, the other problem is that character isn't just Black Peter Parker, which would be bad enough. He's literally stated, their words, again, the Tiger Woods of Marvel.
Yeah, he's Black Peter Parker without any of the things that make Peter Parker an interesting character.
Yeah.
Peter Parker's an interesting character because he's been of an a-hole.
No. That's not actually what makes Peter interesting.
That's one element of his character that makes him interesting.
But can I jump in again?
Sure.
All right. So, two things. One, just the origin of Miles Morales is a deviation from the stories of Peter Parker. Because Peter Parker was already a science nerd. He was already basically, what's the word I'm looking for? You talk about a gifted kid.
Yeah.
A savant.
Yes, he was already a scientific savant. I mean, by the time he was 15 years old, he had developed the ability to engineer a webbing fluid that dissolved after an hour and make web shooters. Okay, we're talking
they
about.
Didn't have that in Ultimates. I thought Ultimates is where they came up with the organic webs.
I'm making a point though on what you said. The origin of Miles Morales wasn't the origin of Peter Parker because Miles Morales was nothing that Peter Parker was. He wasn't a Mary Sue of scientific genius that was able to adapt immediately to his powers.
Peter didn't adapt immediately. He spent time learning how to use his powers.
No, I understand that, but he also built technology that allowed him to do what he did. And I think that didn't Miles have organic webbing in the beginning?
Yeah, but again, that was because he was a knockoff of Ultimate Peter from Power Set in the beginning.
Correct. So the origin of Miles Morales and that Spider-Man was a difference from the legacy origin of Peter Parker from 616. And I think that was a good direction to open up with. And I think that the introduction of that character and his run through at least the Ultimates comics was at least a slight deviation. Now, what they've done with him since he entered the Marvel Universe, I will literally hand you everything that's happened to Miles Morales for the last 6 years is total bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why I use the Terry McGinnis comparison, right? It's both a character that's coming afterwards that didn't have all the advantages that their first original one did, right?
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
Terry McGinnis didn't have all the money and contacts that Bruce Wayne walked in as Batman, and there's
Yeah.
that same kind of parallel going on with Miles Morales,
But
where he didn't
here,
have all the advantages that Peter
Well,
Parker did.
here's why.
real quick,
Here's why I say
Larry,
that.
and I'll
Okay.
give you the floor.
Okay.
Moody, to me personally, I think that definition, Terry McGinnis and Miles Morales from the animated movie, have a lot in common in that regard. But
Yeah.
Terry McGinnis was given a super suit. He was literally trained by the Batman, and was guided by the Batman, who was just watching through his eyes, literally. Whereas in the Ultimate
Yeah.
Comics, Miles Morales just fucked up into being Spider-Man, but in the animation, he was literally guided by a Peter Parker, a Gwen Stacy, a Spider
May.
Bot, another Peter Parker, and Aunt May.
And Peter Porker,
his hand was
who's an
held just like
underappreciated
Terry
character.
McGinnis. Peter Porker,
But
yes, a radioactive
But,
spider bitten by a pig.
exactly. But here's the thing. Another reason why I say Miles Morales was always a whitewashed Peter Parker with the interesting parts removed. Miles Morales was the template for MCU Peter Parker, played by.
Wouldn't it be a bean washed?
No, he's making a point, literally.
Oh,
Yeah. So he's literally the template for the Tom Holland performance of Spider-Man. So all the core characteristics.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
What's that, Rune?
The scriptwriters literally said that they didn't want to do the same Peter Parker stories that were done in the previous two Sony movies, so they said we'll just adapt Miles Morales and make him Peter Parker.
That's true,
and
but
nobody noticed it.
But here's the thing: Tom Holland specifically stated that in preparing to do Peter Parker, he watched the Sam Raimi movies.
Right.
The actor watched the better version of his own character as research.
Yes. But the point,
the situations
still stands
and the actions that they put him through were Miles Morales situations.
Yes. And again, Miles Morales is a good kid who came from a poor working class home. Although Peter came from a poorer and more working class home, Miles didn't have any bullies at school. He fought basically the same kind of villains or the same villains that Ultimate Peter did. He didn't have the acerbic wit. He just didn't have any of the interesting parts about Peter. He was just a good guy with superpowers doing good things. And they were Spider-Man powers. And then they gave him a couple of interesting new powers. Now, it was enjoyable, like a nice cup of vanilla ice cream is enjoyable. But that doesn't make Miles a good experience, or an experience that's worthy of justifying itself.
Actually, I disagree on grounds that we compare him to Kamala Khan. We compare him to Spider-Gwen. We compare him to any other...
Spider-Gwen is also terrible.
Hold on.
Kamala Khan at least had interesting ideas behind her.
So did Miles Morales.
No, he didn't. He never had an interesting idea.
See, I vehemently disagree.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's where I disagree with Larry, because I disagree in a different way that is noteworthy. You say that Kamala Khan had interesting concepts, but Kamala Khan is just female Miles Morales. The families are interchangeable, except one of them is Muslim.
Yes, and that's where the execution failed the Kamala Khan character, but they at least had interesting starting ideas. Her powers made her trapped between two worlds. Her culture made her trapped between two worlds. She also wanted to be part of the new modern hip world, while her parents wanted to be more traditional. But Marvel never had any writer who had any intention of executing on any of those ideas.
Hey, Larry, I hate to break it to you, but the thing you just described is a retelling of the story of Crystal, the Inhuman, when she got infatuated with Johnny Storm.
No. Because we're talking about actual cultural conflict, not fictional alien culture.
Yes, but we're talking about actual cultural conflict that was halfway written by people who have no understanding of the culture.
Yes, but these were written by Jews who experienced actual cultural conflict.
So was the original Fantastic Four, Larry!
Yeah. But my point is that character archetype was written by people who understood what that character was going through and had actual meat to it, whereas Kamala Khan was written by people who allegedly had that experience and didn't put anything into it. They didn't care. The only thing interesting about Miles at the point of execution is, what if somebody else had the same powers and decided to step up and be a hero after Peter died? That was the only interesting thing at the start of the character.
But, again, like you said, I'm not saying that he is equitable to the original Spider-Man. Okay? I'm not saying that
I'm saying he doesn't stand on the merits of his own character. Thus why
I disagree.
Thus why no one's going to care why he's Wolverine. Because nobody cares about Miles Morales.
I don't disagree about that, but I'm saying that I think Miles Morales is the best thing that Bendis did when Bendis was being Bendis.
Well, that is an incredibly low bar you've just set there.
Well, it doesn't matter because, unfortunately, like my son is living proof of, things like Miles Morales are going to be the things that get children into comic books and comic book characters for the future. Because they're going to slowly phase out your Peter Parkers. They're going to slowly phase out your Mr. Fantastics. You're going to have Miles Morales. You're going to have Kamala Khan. You're going to have Lady Thor. And the ones
Lady
of
Thor's
those...
gone. Lady Thor's been gone.
I'm making a point, though. The ones that are executed with at least a little finesse and a little grace are going to be the ones that keep the comic book culture alive and allow it to actually endure another dark age.
They're not going to get rid of... Pardon me. They're not going to get rid of Peter until Peter goes into the public domain.
They're never going to let Peter go into the public domain. He's basically owned by the mouse now.
The reality is that Into the Spider-Verse has made Miles Morales so well known that he is now one of the touchstones of the comics industry.
Exactly.
That Miles Morales is a good character who justifies himself.
Yes.
The one in the comic books doesn't.
Right.
But what I'm saying, and no, I disagree because I think certain storylines, and you know the one I'm going to mention, Ayrton, do you want to just go ahead and tell him?
The cheeseburger?
Yeah, the cheeseburger from Secret Wars 2015. The fact that son of a bitch carried around a cheeseburger in his costume because, you know, sometimes a nigga gets hungry.
for 2 weeks.
Well, 8 years and 2 weeks if you go by continuity standards.
Okay.
I mean, sure, but I think Secret Wars 2015 was a crime. So,
and that's one of the reasons that I keep you on this show, so that we'll always have something to argue about if it comes down to it. Because it's okay to be, it's okay to be wrong, Larry, and I still love you.
I mean, when is he going to be? Here's the problem.
Larry, please pontificate on the problems with Secret Wars.
I'll just boot Larry from the server. It'll be fine.
I have an important question here.
We have to keep my echo chamber alive.
Church, you say that Larry can be wrong. I just have one question for you. It's very important.
Yes.
When is he going to start? Because I also think Secret Wars 2015 was garbage.
See, Rune doesn't have the kind of clout Larry does. I'll just kick Rune out of the server just whole cloth. He's already a furry. He needs to know his fucking place.
Bad dog.
Somebody give me a rolled up newspaper, goddammit.
Be careful, Rune. Church is going to roll up all his copies of Secret Wars 2015 and whack you over the nose with them.
I mean,
hit you with my perfect 10 slaps, bitch.
Why are they sticky?
Well, they're thick boys, not sticky boys. But there's probably sticky boys because Marvel was doing bad production work back then.
There haven't been any sticky boys since 1996 when they did the last swimsuit issue, guys. Calm down.
Related to that, we were also discussing Gwen Stacy because They're doing something like this with Spider-Gwen, and Spider-Gwen is also a knockoff character. I think Spider-Gwen had more interesting ideas at the start, but
Which was my
there's-
argument in the chat.
but because there was nothing to hang them on, because Gwen Stacy is basically stock blonde girlfriend character.
Well, Gwen Stacy, I think is that. Ayrton.
Excuse me, my mother has decided to
That is-
summon me.
I was gonna say that is not me.
Jesus
that
Christ,
that is my mother calling us during the show.
You gotta,
and the
you gotta
sonorous
work
sounds of Bruce Dickinson.
You gotta work on your gain, bro.
What do you
can't
mean?
hear Seinfeld going on behind me. I just heard your cell phone go off at like 14 decibels higher than your normal voice.
This because my cell phone is on my desk. It's on my desk because there's always the potential that my mother is going to dramatically explode in the other room.
No.
I'm like
What you
sitting
do?
there
What you do?
cold, waiting.
What you
I'm
do is you
totally
put
balanced.
Rune. You don't understand. You put your cell phone on vibrate. And you put it underneath your nutsack so that even if you have to answer the motherfucker, you get something out of it.
No, that's gonna be sweaty, gross. That's how I have to get. That's how I have to get a new cell phone. But we don't want to do that.
That's how I got pink eye last time.
Go tend to your mother. We'll talk about Gwen Stacy for a bit.
Well, because when I come back, I have things to say about Gwen Stacy. But
I'm gonna finish my statement, and then I'm gonna let Larry go, and then I'm gonna go have a drink and a cigarette, and then Rune
sounds like
can
a
be
plan.
back. But I'll start off by saying that Gwen Stacy is damaged goods. The Clone Saga completely fucked the idea of Gwen Stacy. The revisiting of
Which
the Clone
Saga?
Hold on, I'm getting there. The revisiting of the Clone Saga completely buried the idea of Gwen Stacy. The revisiting of the Clone Saga completely tortured me into saying, you know what, if I ever see the word clone on a Spider-Man comic book again, I'm going to set the whole fucking store on fire.
Have you heard how they have retconned the retcon of the retcon of the retcon of Gwen Stacy?
Does it involve a Scarlet Spider? Because if no, I don't give a shit.
So, apparently Norman Osborn sold his soul to Mephisto.
Is he the Sorcerer Supreme now?
Not yet. I'm sure they're going to do that to him soon.
He'll be Iron Doom, Sorcerer Supreme.
At some point in time, they made a cloned Gwen Stacy that was crossbred with Norman Osborn.
You don't understand this. This clone of Gwen Stacy is clone number 85.
And I think they're implying that Mephisto is currently in the clone of Gwen Stacy.
Isn't she a high schooler? I think that's illegal. Somebody call Kyle up.
Not when you're a demon. It's not illegal.
I'm pretty sure it's still illegal. Has anybody seen Kyle? He's about this tall.
I just heard her reading Rainbow and DMX crossover with the N-word in it, and it was fantastic.
But the thing about Gwen Stacy is there wasn't a whole lot to her character. She was just blonde, and
she was Peter Parker's girlfriend, who happened to be the daughter of the police commissioner.
Police captain. Now, Captain Stacy was great, and the Andrew Garfield movies were an absolute hate crime.
I meant to say the Spider-Man's version of Jim Gordon, but
right.
I did what I could.
Right. But he was the police captain who was in charge of the anti-Spider-Man squad. And he eventually realized Peter was Spider-Man, and they formed a good bond. And he became a strong mentoring father figure to Peter. So his death at the hands of, it was Lizard, if I remember correctly in the comics, was a major tragic touchstone for Peter. And that did lead to him separating from Gwen, and then coming back together, because that's the thing Peter did with his girlfriends.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm a sad boy, so I have to leave you now. Oh, wait, I forgot. Being with a woman makes me less of a sad boy. Come back.
Well, you know.
Yeah, because they got tits.
Well, hold on. Making contact in rapid succession and then breaking contact in rapid succession is how most Peters interact with their girlfriends.
Exactly. But to most comic book fans, here's what we know about Gwen Stacy. She was blonde girlfriend. her dad was a strong male mentor to Peter, and she died in a horrible accident with a Green Goblin, which led to Peter stabbing Norman to death
and
until
she
they
got
retconned that.
Wait, didn't he just allow Norman to get impaled by his own glider?
that was the
Yeah,
movie.
in the movie, but like,
Oh,
there was,
right.
if I remember,
right.
there was
You're
a
not wrong.
fight. Yeah, there was a fight. He
Alright.
kind of did, but either way,
Alright,
Peter.
Mental Gem. Hi. Matter of point, that call was one of those emergencies. I'm gonna be gone for like a hot minute.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Moody, pick up the slack and keep these rubes in line.
So anyway, why MJ was the superior girlfriend character is, first of all,
Well, real quick, but before we move on to that, I just want to ask, if you're gonna do this whole like character swap thing in a Spider-Man context, wouldn't Gwen Stacy make the most sense because she was there at the beginning of him being Spider-Man?
so here's the thing. We're going to take a different character in the same situation, see what makes them tick. There has to be something ticking under the hood.
Ayrton, you're operating under the assumption that Mary Jane's never been Spider-Man.
Because that's also happened.
Okay.
But back to Ayrton's point, because Ayrton made a good point. There's nothing under the hood with Gwen Stacy.
Well, yeah, she's blonde and a woman.
She's blonde, good girl.
And a woman.
Right. But
I disagree. I disagree, and I'd like to get it on the record that I think Gwen Stacy was prototype Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy has a character, though. But we'll get to that when we get to
Stacy
the debate.
was prototype Felicia Hardy. She was the blonde love interest that Peter could never be with because reasons. Apparently, one of the reasons with Gwen Stacy was death. But
look, Felicia Hardy was. We need to make a Catwoman for Spider-Man. I don't know. They can't own Catwoman. Well, let's just say Black Cat. Yeah, that works. Although personally, I think they should have had him hook up with Patsy Walker, but that's me because I think Patsy Walker is an amusing and interesting character because of the fact she's the oldest continuously written character for Marvel right now.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Patsy Walker was a romance comic character going all the way back to early Marvel, just shortly after they changed their name from Timely Comics.
Oh, okay.
And then later, they decided to make her a character in the Avengers. In the background.
Yeah, for the record, her first appearance was in 1944.
Yeah. So that's an interesting aspect of her character to me. And also...
Church wants me to say that Peter was meant to be exclusive with Kitty Pryde.
Well, I mean, Kitty was younger and from Chicago. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. Anyways,
and
continue.
she hooked up with a hot Russian guy. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah. So there's nothing for Gwen Stacy to hang a hook on. So inevitably, you end up in a situation like you had with Maleficent, where to give a new quality to a character, you have to make all the other characters around them worse. And then it becomes a snowballing effect as the character that doesn't have any foundational character starts doing more and more things, and they have to keep stealing more and more energy from other things around.
Right.
That's why the name of Gwen Stacy's band was the Mary Janes, because Gwen didn't have anything unique about her character to make a band name about herself.
Well, no, and that's fair. I'm not saying that it was good how they did it. I'm just saying it could have been an interesting like one-off miniseries.
I mean,
if they would have just left it at that, like, oh, what if Gwen got bit instead of Peter?
Yeah,
and all of these events played out the same while they were in high school, but it got switched around. What would that look like? That's the potential for an interesting story.
And they also made Peter into basically an incel.
I mean, he kind of was.
No. Peter was getting all sorts of play. Not just with Gwen.
No, not early on.
Yeah, no. He had multiple girlfriends in high school.
Not before he was Spider-Man.
No, he did. He had a bunch of nerdy chicks following him around.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yes.
Peter had game.
Well, he had nerd game, and then he got Spider-Man powers, and then he had nerd jock game, which is a weird kind of game. But to be fair, Mary Jane originated in 1965.
Yes.
Kitty Pryde was created in 1980. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know what happened after 1980, Larry? You know what happened in 1986?
Was 86 the marriage issue?
No. Ayrton, you know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Oh, Secret War.
If Kitty Pryde would have been involved in Secret Wars instead of Colossus, then she would have fallen in love with Black Suit Spider-Man, and everything would have been okay.
No, it would have been okay because then they would have done a story. What if Kitty Pryde was Spider-Man?
Look,
and we would be in the same conversation.
Ayrton, would that not have been better than Gwen Stacy?
No, it would not have.
But Kitty Pryde was a developed character with foundational character bits.
Kind of.
You shouldn't talk like that, Larry. She was only 16.
Oof. But let's see. There was Betsy Brandt. There was
Betty Brandt.
Betty Brandt. Who was the other girlfriend he had in high school?
Ayrton, real quick. Who did Betty Brandt end up marrying?
Somebody
His name
else
was Ned Leeds.
Yeah, that was who she ended up marrying.
The Hobgoblin.
That's not an alliteration.
Yeah, but he became the villain, so it's okay. Although then they said no, Ned isn't actually the Hobgoblin. It's totally some rando businessman that none of us had heard of before the comics. They're saying, yeah, that was totally what we're always planning to do, you guys. We swear, bruh.
But
no, you weren't.
By the way, there actually is a longer running character than Patsy Walker.
Who?
3 years before was Captain America.
Yeah, so basically Steve and Patsy
wasn't
are the
Nick
two
Fury
oldest
before
characters.
Captain America?
No, Nick Fury was actually
the Howling Commandos.
Howling Commanders was later.
Really? Okay.
It was part of their World
quick,
War II continuity they introduced in the 60s.
Can we all agree right now that Jack-o'-lantern is just a variation of the Goblin series?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree with you. But
can
Mary
we all
Jane...
agree that Nick Fury should have been Spider-Man's latest girlfriend?
What?
What?
Never
So anyway,
I'm gonna send you my Beer Gurkha guitar clips. Just don't say anything else, Ayrton.
Okay.
I think that Mary Jane was the superior Spider-Man girlfriend of all of them, with Felicia Hardy being a strong second. Because I mean, a hot chick that steals, he's always impressive.
I mean, I don't disagree. Mary Jane is a redhead, and so she wins on that point. But
Mary Jane dated his best friend when his best friend had a drug problem and was kind of abusive to her.
Yeah, we've all been there, right?
So not only was Mary Jane like the neighbor next door's niece that Peter was being set up with, she also had deeper connections to Peter. They'd both seen and experienced some stuff. If I remember, didn't Mary Jane's dad, wasn't he also kind of abusive? If I'm recalling that correctly, Church?
It was an alcoholic, right?
He was abusive,
something like that.
Yeah. So, Peter was the break in that chain for her. And that's part of why they had such a strong, compelling love story, which is why Joe Quesada is such a garbage human being for ruining that marriage, because his marriage was ruined. So he had to ruin Spider-Man's marriage, but he couldn't get a divorce because standards and practices said that would be immoral. So Peter sold his marriage to the devil. And they said, yeah, that's fine because it's comic books. I mean, who do you think is the top tier Peter Parker girlfriend? Church.
For me, I mean, I'm always a Mary Jane guy. I hate to say it. I'm a Mary
But I
Jane
mean,
guy.
a point that Rune made that we're gonna have to wait for Rune to come back to make on his own once his mom's situation is settled.
Yeah.
Is that for guys like us, Mary Jane was the girlfriend for most of our run with the character Spider-Man. How do we determine if that's not the reason why we have that perspective?
We don't have to, because I mean, just because we got in the good era doesn't mean that it's the wrong era.
Yeah, but I mean, we're on a YouTube show and we're trying to.
Larry, we're the defense. The prosecution has to prove their point.
Oof.
We just have to say things. The prosecution has to prove we're lying. No, I think that Mary Jane is the pinnacle girlfriend because she had a personality when she was introduced. She was introduced as someone who didn't want Peter Parker because he could help her do anything. She was an established, successful character as a female in the 60s, ladies and gentlemen. She was a freer woman than Wonder Woman was in the 60s. She didn't have to be tied up in order to be in the comic books, ladies and gentlemen.
No, she just.
I mean, and in fairness, Diana didn't have to be tied up. She was
No.
down for that.
No,
That was her weakness.
She had to be tied up because that's what the writer and the artist really, really enjoyed drawing and writing.
God bless that. So I mean, who else stands out to you as a memorable Spider-Man girlfriend other than Felicia and?
Nobody. But my point is not who's the better Spider-Man girlfriend, because it's Mary Jane hands down, because she's an actual character, like Church said. But if you're going to do that character swap story, if you can do it well, I'm not saying it was done well, because I hate Spider-Gwen. She's fucking annoying.
The only reason they invented Spider-Gwen is because somebody in a production management position at Marvel says things that people can cosplay well are very marketable, so we need lots of things that people can cosplay well.
Are you waiting for me to say Carol Danvers so we can fight again, Larry? Because it's not going to happen.
I mean, I think original Carol Danvers is actually a good character.
Yes, but that didn't happen.
The best thing about her was being in a coma.
Oh, Rune's back.
I mean,
okay,
one of
Rune.
the more popular, just to answer your question, one of the more popular girlfriends for Peter Parker is Black Cat, though.
Yeah.
Well, now that I am back, I want to address this matter.
According to CBR, the most popular love interest for Peter Parker was Mockingbird, I believe.
What?
Well,
that's very recent, and that's
very
clearly
recent and also a lie.
Yeah, that's
wait. Isn't that Hawkeye's?
No,
Hawkeye's
you're thinking of Black Widow.
Well, no. Mockingbird was Hawkeye's wife.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We're talking about a different Mockingbird, Bobby Morris.
No, we're talking the same Mockingbird.
Oh,
yeah,
she died, went to hell, and came back.
Right. So
and Hawkeye decided, well, death did us part.
No, she came back and was like,
yeah.
She came back and was like,
right there.
No, she came back and she was like, you gave your marriage to the devil. Well, I just came from the devil, so let's fuck.
So here's the thing. All of these subjects, Gwen Stacy, Gwenpool, Miles Morales,
Well,
Peter
we didn't actually
Parker's.
talk about Gwenpool because Gwenpool's unrelated to the current topic of
It-
conversation.
it is
I'm
not.
actually,
It is-
I'm
it is
actually,
actually
now
not.
that Rune's back, I'm actually going to go have my cigarette.
Okay.
And Peter Parker's love life. These are all interconnected on the scale that when you sit down to write fiction, before anything else, no matter what your motivations are, and we would hope you have strong motivations, I'll give credit, though I loathe to do so, that Bendis's motivations behind Miles Morales may have been pure and intelligent. It can happen.
I don't have a problem with I have kids, so I want to make my kids in the...
Did you just say Bendis's motives were intelligent? Did you put those words in a sentence together?
I suggested that might be so.
I respect the fact that he wanted to throw his love of his children into writing a child's character.
Right, but then the next thing is this good narrative?
No.
That is the next step, and that is where not just Bendis, but modern Marvel has failed. Okay? And I'm going to use specifically Spider-Man's love life as the example for this. Back in the day, stuff about Kitty Pryde being irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
Peter Parker was dating Betty Bryant, who went on to be J. Jonah Jameson's secretary. Betty had the personality...
I actually think they were dating when she was his secretary, if I remember correctly.
They were. But the thing is that Betty had the personality of a dish rag. Okay?
She was just stock black lady.
No, she's not even black. What are you fucking on about?
No, I confused her with the other secretary. What was her name?
No, we're talking about a woman who was a secretary at the Bugle, but was also a fellow student with Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, she's basically Velma Dinkley in Marvel format.
Yeah.
She's not a bad character. She goes on to be somebody important because she's the Hobgoblin's wife when he's Ned Leeds and marries the Molten Man. You know, she's actually built into Peter Parker's extended mythology. But the point is that they didn't have a successful relationship. They broke up like real people break up. Right?
Mm.
Gwen Stacy was the new girlfriend, but nobody liked Gwen Stacy. She was not a well-liked character at release. Okay? Because her, it only mattered insofar as Peter Parker was sleeping with the enemy because her father, Captain Stacy, was trying to catch Spider-Man. Alright? That makes it Robin Hood, that makes it Green Arrow, that makes it Zorro, that makes it fucking Batman.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Okay? People only ever cared about Gwen Stacy because Gwen Stacy died. Now, you want to make the argument that Gwen Stacy coming back from the dead, regardless of the mechanisms, does create an interesting narrative because now you have the life returned of someone whose potential was cut off tragically. Sure, I'll go there. But don't lie to me and say she's super popular because she was always popular. No, she was popular because she was dead. Because of the 40 years of storyline that came out of Peter Parker dealing with guilt that he might be responsible.
Also, she's apparently super popular in Mexico.
Sure.
No, like they had a separate continuity for Marvel publication in Mexico where Peter married and had kids in a family with Gwen.
Sure, that's weird but interesting. But here's the thing. Because Gwen Stacy was uninteresting, but they said Peter Parker's got to have a girlfriend, they came up with Mary Jane, who had been a person on school grounds, right? But they didn't move in the same circles.
Was she dating Harry at that time, or did she date Harry after she first met Peter?
She was dating Harry at that time, because Harry is the kind of person that will move in Mary Jane's circles.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you want to go after the fact and say it's kind of skeevy that Beta Peter stole Mary Jane from Alpha Harry? Harry was never an Alpha to begin with.
and Peter was never really a Beta.
Right.
That's more of a modern Marvel retcon of the character.
But the thing is that Mary Jane is, to the reader, what Gwen Stacy and Betty Bryant weren't. Right? Mary Jane is literally the dream girl. Because when you are a roughly 15-year-old comic book nerd and you're not popular, right, there is always that one girl. It is the Charlie Brown structure, because Charlie Brown is after the little red-haired girl with curls who doesn't even know he fucking exists. Right? Peter Parker...
And big old titties.
And, well, I mean, you're talking about small kids in Charlie Brown, man. What the fuck's wrong with you? But, you know, Mary Jane is the supermodel who met the nerd and they fell in love.
With
and it was
big old titties.
And it was a natural progression. Now, yes, it is true that Black Cat and Spider-Man were a thing. But that's the thing. Felicia Hardy was never into Peter Parker. Mary Jane was into Peter Parker, but not necessarily on board with Spider-Man. This was a huge thing that was multiple years of social conflict. And that's the important thing, is that it was a long-running storyline. Soap opera, sure, but it had time to grow into itself. And eventually, it was the dream result. You married the supermodel. Why? Because Felicia realized that not only was she not into Peter Parker, because I've actually read comics where she straight up said that looking at Peter made her want to throw up. Right? But she had decided to go on and live her own life and be her own person and was her own superhero. Right now, Ma.
Is that your phone again?
Yeah, that's my mom letting me know that the oven is preheated. And it's not important at this exact second. But the thing is that, you know, he married the dream girl. This is what comics nerds always aspire to. We want to get the dream girl who's hot and smart and fun, and we want to marry her. It's a thing.
And who has big old titties.
And has big old titties. Right? So, Joey Q, the same guy who said you can't smoke in the Marvel Universe because my grandfather died of cancer from cigarette smokes, even though I'm on camera smoking a big old fucking cigar. Right?
Yeah, but according to the CDC, you can smoke up to 2 cigars a day, and your chances of getting any smoking-related cancers are statistically 0.
Right.
So.
And Wolverine has a healing factor, so why the fuck does he care?
Right.
Yeah.
That too.
But to the extent that even in their max line for adults, 18 plus, there was a moratorium in New York City on smoking. You couldn't smoke in the city limits. In the Max imprint, where the Punisher murders people.
Well, that's because Bloomberg's a little bitch.
But Joey Q was the one who said DC and Marvel fans can't be friends. Joey Q is the one who said Marvel characters can't smoke. And Joey Q is the one that said that Spider-Man couldn't be married because 15-year-olds don't understand marriage. They don't want it. They want to bang chicks and run around.
I mean, I'm 30 and that's what I want to do.
Sure, but the thing is that you're 30 and want to run around. Does that mean you sell your soul to the fucking devil?
And bang chicks. Don't forget that part.
But do you sell your soul to the devil to do it?
To erase my previous marriage? Yes.
Well, then guess what? You are the one person Joey Q was writing for. Because
if I could erase my ex-wife out of this shit by selling my soul to the devil, yes.
Hold on, Larry. Hold on, everybody.
He's a blues man.
Everybody, calm down, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, as a fellow who is a frequent patron at a watering hole, Ayrton is not alone.
No.
Oh, I know he's not. But my point is, okay, having walked through this progression, is the question's got to be, okay, we're going to tell a story. We're going to tell a story about loss, and we're going to tell a story about people falling apart, falling away from each other because of loss. Right? Is Spider-Man selling his marriage to the devil good narrative? No. Is Spider-Man breaking up with Mary Jane good narrative? Potentially. Right? That story is a bad story. And it colors everything that comes after it. Because after One More Day, we had the return of Gwen. And it's like, okay, is the return of Gwen good narrative? Potentially. Was it good narrative for what they did with it? Fuck no.
Absolutely not.
Right? And
that was my whole argument, is potentially this
right.
could have been good, but it was not executed well.
But that brings us to the other potential girlfriends. Is Black Cat and Spider-Man good narrative? We already did that narrative. We already know it doesn't work. Right?
Hey, now, are you saying that Tom King's fantasy isn't a good fantasy?
Yes. Because he's a dumb shit who doesn't read. Okay? Because we already did Spider-Man and Black Cat.
He probably just talked to text for all his scripts.
We already know that it doesn't work. Right? And not only did they undo 40 years of character development for Spider-Man,
because he was with Mary Jane longer than he'd been with any of his other girlfriends combined.
But they then also undid 40 years of character development for Black Cat, who was a meaningful character in her own right. They undid all that and made her a villain again. They basically did what everyone has always said Black Cat was, and she wasn't. They turned her into Catwoman.
I mean, she had certain things that made her distinct from Catwoman.
She did. That's the thing. At creation, there was a lot of comparison between her and Catwoman, and they weren't necessarily wrong, but they were different characters solidly. Right? But now, she's right back to being a villainous super thief, and while we're at it, she hates Peter Parker, which means that I can actually almost date it. We're looking at 1992 era Black Cat. Right? Because I read that book. I specifically have that book. The Black Cat broke into Spider-Man's apartment with Mary Jane and threatened to murder Mary Jane while Spider-Man was running around dealing with the fact that Venom was on the loose because Eddie Brock had just broken out of jail for the first time.
Yeah.
All right. That's how specific I can boil this down to. And that extends to Miles Morales. When Miles Morales was in Ultimates, I had no problem with him existing because it was actually a good narrative to me as someone who did not give a shit about Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like, oh, wow, Peter Parker died. Oh, wow, a new Peter Parker arose. I thought there were character creative concepts that were lazy, like, oh, look, he turns invisible like Terry McGinnis. Oh, look, he's Tiger Woods, dumb things, but nothing that offended me because I didn't have to deal with it. It was over in Ultimates. I don't read Ultimates because I like to read good books.
Miles wasn't offensive. That's one of my problems with Miles, is he was inoffensive.
Sure, but he was also inoffensive, which means you could take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. When they folded the two universes into each other, when they brought Ultimates 2616, because they said, we're going to shut down Ultimates because it's not selling, and we don't want to lose all these good properties, put these characters into receivership. Which
basically was Miles. That Miles was the only one they really brought over from Ultimates.
They had a narrow window to do something interesting. And they not only did the least interesting option, which it took a cartoon...
Hold on.
Okay.
I think Larry just undersold Ant-Man's domestic violence, which they also brought over from the Ultimate Universe.
No, his domestic violence was older than that. It was from the 70s.
Yeah, it was in the
I understand that, but it was buried. It was buried, and they brought it back. They brought it back hard. Like an R.
I would think if they brought back something unwanted from Ultimates, it was going to be Scarlet Witch and Pietro's incest.
But that still hurts me that that's a thing that happened.
I know, it's fucking awful. But here's the thing. They had a window to do something interesting with there being two Spider-Men, and not only did they choose the worst option, but in the way of bad television, they said in order for one to succeed, the other must fail. We need to make Peter Parker a fucking idiot so that Miles Morales can be the one true Spider-Man. And the problem is, it's not just that it's bad for Peter, who doesn't fucking deserve it, and is a character people enjoy, right? But it undermines anything Morales might actually do, right? Which means which brings it back around to our capstone where we started, which is this what if book. What is this what if book? What is this Gwen what if book? These are literally, what if these characters were better characters?
What if these were written by people who cared about their own work?
Which, of course, they don't, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. They do not care.
I'm actually curious if any of y'all actually know the actual origin of Miles Morales, like where he comes from.
What do you
Like,
mean, origin of where he comes from?
So, there's actually a reference to it in the Into the Spider-Verse movie about his origins. So, back several years before Miles Morales was actually written, Marvel had been discussing.
Should we be wearing fedoras for this?
Oh,
okay.
Marvel had been discussing around the time of Obama's election a couple of years before that they needed to bring in more black characters, and they proposed conceptualizing a black Spider-Man. So that was the impetus for why they started designing the character. But where the character comes from, and I think I'd heard, I forget, someone in here was mentioning that it was based on the writer's kid, but that's actually not where the character comes from.
Bendis says he based how he wrote Miles off of his kids.
No, actually. So
he said that in interviews when it was launched.
Look, just because it's not the on-paper source doesn't mean Bendis didn't say it. We don't need to debate which source is correct.
Sure.
And Bendis has said that at every new black character he's introduced.
So the original design for Miles Morales was actually based on an episode of Community that had Donald Glover dressed as Spider-Man. There had been a Twitter campaign to try to get Donald Glover as the Spider-Man in one of the movies. And that is the character that they actually based Miles Morales on. In the actual movie, they make a nod to that by actually having the episode of Community in the background of one of the shots in the actual movie as a nod to the origin for the inspiration for the character.
Right, but this just reinforces what I said, because the basic thesis is the question of, is this good narrative? And if the source of your narrative is, we want Black Spider-Man because we want Black Spider-Man because we need Black Spider-Man, regardless of whether Donald Glover is a good actor, which he is, regardless of whether or not it would actually be interesting to have more Spider-Men, right? Then it's not going to be good product, and I think that has borne out to be true.
Yeah, well,
because that is the thing, is that rather than be like, we're going to have a different person be Spider-Man and deal with different problems, as Larry has outlined, what we got a different person being Spider-Man dealing with the exact same problems, and not being different enough to justify his own existence.
Yeah, and since Bendis has said every time he's introduced a new black character, he based it off of his adopted kids, and they all have the same personality, I'm going to believe Bendis when he said, I based Miles off of my kids.
I mean, I don't, actually, for the exact opposite reason. The more times he has to restate it, and the more times he applies it to people, the more it sounds like he's trying to say, you can't get mad at me for racial stuff because I got black kids.
You're both reading it wrong. Both of you are correct. What he's saying is, I base this character off myself and use my black kids as a template.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
See, I'm willing to say that he probably based the initial character off of Troy Barnes, the character of Community, but there's a lot you have to fill in from a character other than just this one inspiration. Well, and he probably did use his kids to fill in a lot of those details.
Well, no, see, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Is it might be the case that you are correct, that it is based off of this one depiction from Community, right? But that Bendis, the man, the author, the dipshit, is not above spreading lies about his motivations to make himself look good. Because nobody can look at you and go, well, your character's bad, if you go, but I based it on kids. Don't you love my kids? What's wrong with my kids? Are you a racist because they're black? No, I don't like your character because character's bad.
No, I'm a racist because you suck at writing.
But he also based it off of his getting his kids into charter school which was another important element in the beginning of Miles' creation as a character. But what if Miles was a good character? We won't know because Marvel doesn't employ anybody capable of making good characters anymore.
That's correct.
So, what is the next part on our hit parade today?
Oh, we were supposed to have a plan.
We did. We talked about several other things.
We made it an hour and 30 minutes without a plan, Larry. I'm not going to make one up for the last half hour.
No.
Okay, me
had
and Larry had a plan.
No, we had a plan, and there's several things we could talk about. We could talk about how Hasbro is crowdfunding for a giant Rancor figure.
Okay, yeah. Will you explain that? I didn't actually look at that link yet.
All right. So what's happening is large corporations in gaming, in comics, in toys are going to crowdfunding, which is for people like us. Let's be realistic. And so they're launching a Black Series Rancor campaign for collectors, and it's for a 1 to 12 scale figure of a Rancor.
So, like, do you get one if you back it?
Yeah.
Well, depending on the level you back it
at. And Marvel Comics did something with Marvel Legends Sentinel similarly to that.
Where's
with a similar figure.
What 1/12 scale is only 6 inches?
1 to 12. That's not necessarily 1/12.
Okay, 1 to whatever. I mean, no, that's the same thing, isn't it?
I mean,
at its smallest, what would 12% of a Rancor be?
I mean, 27 inches times 12, so that's like 27 feet tall. So yeah, no, that makes sense. That math works. But here's the thing. People were saying that they're doing this because stores don't want to have that much product space taken up by a Rancor. To which my response is, there's this little thing we all buy stuff from called Amazon. You just make that bad boy an Amazon exclusive, and that's no longer a problem.
But wait, this is an enormous Rancor figure. That's not enormous.
Yeah, but that's 3 feet of shelf space.
Yeah, so it's 27 inches tall and it has a arm
no. That's not 3. That's not 3 feet. That's like 2 feet and a couple inches.
Right, but most stores that would have a shelf big enough to do it, that'd be a 3-foot shelf space.
Oh, that's almost 4 feet.
It's like it's about 4 feet wide and 3 feet tall.
No, roughly. 3 feet tall would be 36 inches, Moody.
Right, but what I'm saying,
no. Its arm span is 42 inches. It's almost 4 feet wide.
Wide, yeah.
Wide.
Yeah. So
is that width or circumference?
Width is what it says. So the argument is stores don't have that much space to give to a high-end collectible. Most stores would buy 1, maybe 2 of those for their big whale customers and sell it.
Yeah.
And my response to that is, just sell it on Amazon. Make it an Amazon exclusive. That'll sell.
But again, when I see enormous, I think like 7 feet tall.
I mean, Church. Let me ask you: 27 by 41 figure. When you ran a comic book shop, how much shelf space did you have to devote to something like that?
We would have bought one and kept it in the back.
And then somebody would show up to pick it up if they wanted it.
Right.
And then you'd order another one.
Somebody would have come in and asked about figures, and I would have taken them into the back where we kept all of our figures because we didn't have fucking shelf space.
If y'all want to see it, I put pictures in there for y'all to look at.
Okay. So I couldn't put my cock on your shelf space, is what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We were also going to talk about the Star Wars going back to Dark Horse where it belongs.
Real quick. It's 17 and a half inches tall, which means you have to have at least 2 foot of shelf space for it.
It's 27 inches tall.
No, look at the pictures that he just posted.
Yeah, not according to what Moody just posted. It's only 17 and a half.
The article says the figure measures as much as 27 inches tall.
That might be. Here, I'll show. Here's the picture that goes with that. This is the This is what the 27 inches is.
I was going to
Right.
say maybe if its arms were stretched up, yeah.
Right.
That's exactly
what I'm
it's
saying.
27.
In the box, is going to be about 2 foot by 2 foot, though. No shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got a 4 square foot of shelf space.
That's not that bad though. You put it on the top shelf.
Ayrton.
I work in retail.
I understand that, but you
No,
don't
I
work in
know.
a comic book store. Most
To
of
be
our shelves,
fair, there are
most of our
Go
shelf space is under a foot because within 1 foot you can stack 3 trading card boxes or 2 hobby boxes of sports cards.
And those trading card and hobby card boxes of sports go fast because it's called cardboard crack for a reason.
To be fair, this thing, even in boxed form, is small compared to a average size like Star Wars Lego set. Those boxes are as big as a fucking table.
That's what
And
I'm-
when was the
that's
last
what I'm
time?
saying.
Hold on, no. When was the last time you saw a Lego set in a small scale retail store that was selling consumables by the month?
Those get sold in toy stores. And when was the last time you saw a toy store?
No, but
last week?
I mean, if you're running a Walmart at 200 or 3,000 or fucking 6,000 square feet.
No, but my point is they say enormous. This is not enormous.
It is. It is in
compared to the regular Star Wars action figures.
Ayrton,
kind of.
Ayrton, the thing is, they're saying it's enormous because a typical action figure is about 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
here's
is
the
3
thing.
times that size.
Whether or not people agree on the definition of enormous, I'll tell you what it is for sure. It's expensive. They're MSRPing this thing at $350.
Holy shit.
So you're going to spend $350 for multiple 4 square foot, 6 cubic foot of shelf space.
Well,
you're gonna spend $150.
150 to 200 depending on the markup.
That's going to sit there maybe 3 months, maybe 6, possibly a year,
possibly 5, depending on how many you order.
Or you make that an Amazon exclusive and go straight to Papa Bezos.
Yeah, because warehouse space doesn't give a shit about square footage, but retail does. And just because you work in an industry that is prepared for 6 foot bong spaces, Ayrton, comic book stores aren't built that way.
You know what's funny? We just ordered some 6 foot bongs for the Christmas season.
Yeah, comic book stores aren't built that way. They're built to support
which we
comic
put
book
those
shelves
we
and
put
short
those on the
IKEA
floor.
shelves.
We put those on the floor and
Uh-huh.
lean them up against the wall.
Yeah, you know why you don't put a fucking large scale figure on the floor, because somebody will snatch it and run out of your doors.
Well, yes, but we also have bongs that are taller than the packaging that comes in, and we have those on the wall on a shelf, and it's not that big of a deal.
Because people don't want to touch something that's glass that'll break. Everybody wants to touch the Rancor.
See, here's where I feel this whole campaign is dishonest. Because it's not crowdfunding at all. It's not like it's like a thing that they're putting on Kickstarter.
It's a pre-order. It's a
pre-order. There's no like tiers to buy from. They're just saying how many people want to buy this object in advance. It's not crowdfunding.
Which again, you could do on Papa Bezos' website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let Lex Luthor foot the bill.
The quote-unquote crowdfunded project is on a Hasbro website.
So, Rune...
And yet Hasbro is still going to get some of my money.
Yeah. So, Rune, do you want to talk about X-Men 97? Because you said we need to talk about that.
Please do.
Well, I mean, the boggle is that at one time, many moons ago, there was this show that was really good, that everyone enjoyed. Which I don't actually think I have to double check. I don't think it actually should be called X-Men 97. I thought it came out in 92 and ran for a long
Well, X-Men 97 is what they're calling the new version of that continuity.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's like I'm actually certain it came out before then.
I'm on that, but continue your point.
But anyway, Yeah, 92. 76 episodes. So they're bringing it back, right? And people are pretending that it's going to be great, knowing nothing about it other than their nostalgic feelings for an old cartoon.
All right,
And there are
hold
people
on.
who are
Real quick, just to clear up the issues, okay?
yeah.
The show ran from 1992 to 1997, so X-Men 97 as a comic book premise is what happened after the final episode of the comic book or the animated show.
Yeah. I rock it, but people are getting excited about products to consume next products, and some people have said, yeah, but can it be a good product in current year politics? As you do, because that's a good thing to be concerned about. And of course, the extremists are like, well, X-Men's always been political. It's always been about racism and gays and all these other things. It's like, well, yeah, but that was an allegory dealt with better handling than this. Matter of point, you have Storm, a powerful, independent black woman who literally doesn't need a man, who is an intelligent and capable advisor to other people.
Well, wait, Rune, you realize that the X-Men comic book continuity decided that Storm needed a man. And his name is Black Panther.
No, it's funnier than that. Let's keep this correct. Black Panther decided he needed a child bride from Egypt and put her into the custody of a white man to take care of her.
Me too, bro.
Because she wasn't Wakandan.
Actually, Rune, I just need to correct you on a different point. You said God incorrectly.
I'm sorry, what?
You said God incorrectly. Let's not forget
God
she
did
was
it?
worshipped. No, Storm was worshipped as a deity.
Not at that time. No, remember when Black Panther saw her.
No, when her powers developed in Egypt in continuity, yes, she was worshipped as a god.
That was years later, and that wasn't in Egypt. That was in Ethiopia.
We're not going off of retcons. What I'm saying is chronologically in actual.
I'm not talking about retcons. You're supporting a retcon.
No. She was originally introduced in Egypt when they did Professor X's backstory in Egypt, where he got his legs crippled.
Right, and when she was a child living on the streets of Egypt as a thief, being manipulated by the Shadow King, who still had a body at that time.
He did.
Black Panther saw Storm on the street, was instantly smitten, and arranged for Xavier to find her.
Right, but you see, the thing is, Xavier didn't find her because of that.
No, that's absolutely what they said. That is the retcon they put in.
Well, yeah,
so that
we're going to pretend like that didn't happen.
No, we're going to admit that fucking happened because that is still canon. So that they could have T'Challa and Storm be Obama and Michelle
Rune, you
in Marvel.
misunderstood me. I'm saying in original continuity. Before the retcons,
in original continuity, Xavier found her living as a thief in Egypt. Then she went to America with him.
Mm-hmm.
No, she didn't.
No.
She ended up in Kenya for some reason.
Kenya, that's what it was.
And she became a goddess there.
Right, but
and
that's the thing.
Xavier found her during the
Africa
arc.
Again, that's the thing.
Yes.
She was an adult in Kenya. She was a kid in Egypt.
Just because he found her when she was a kid in Egypt doesn't mean she joined Xavier's school because she was part of the original X-Men.
She did. Right. He didn't take care of her at all after he found her as a thief who picked his pocket in Egypt.
Last time I went
except for stopping the Shadow King from exploiting a child.
Last time I went on an African safari, I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How it got in my pajamas, I have no idea.
All right. But anyway,
have none of you watched the Marx Brothers? You uncultured swine.
I did, but it was an awkward segue.
Look, I'm just gonna get out of these wet clothes and into a dry martini.
Ayrton, none of us are British. We don't have Ayrton. We don't have dry humor. None of us are British.
That's American.
Anyway,
we
So,
have
yeah.
damp humor.
so let's get back to the point of this terrible knockoff of a beloved nostalgia cartoon.
Right. So people are reasonably concerned that it's going to be shit. And I mean, that's a reasonable concern to have. And other people are basically saying X-Men was always woke, which is fundamentally untrue.
It's the way Marvel has retconned the perception of the past X-Men largely since 2010. It's largely been how Marvel has spun the story of what the X-Men is.
What, the X-Men was always woke?
Yeah, that's more of their contemporary understanding of the X-Men. But
Because X-Men was supposed to be Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Stan Lee had poured water on that several times, but he also sold that several times.
That's why I said it sarcastically.
Yeah.
Because it's a dumb allegory.
It's not.
No, it is a dumb allegory because X-Men is just the story of what would happen if people started mutating like crazy. People would go crazy and be like, "What the fuck is going on? These people must be evil."
Here's the thing. As much as I love me some Stan, no, Claremont did in fact use that. It was a valuable allegory. It fucking worked.
No, it doesn't.
No.
If you'd shut the fuck up, the problem is that the modern extremists, because Martin Luther King's dream did not magically manifest instantaneously, have decided the dream was a lie and that Malcolm X was right, but not even the actual Malcolm X, only Malcolm X at his absolute worst, advocating for a black ethno-state.
But here's a better allegory. George Washington Carver versus W.E.B. Du Bois, which is an even more on-point allegory.
That's too deep.
So Professor X has peanut powers?
Yes.
Okay. I'm on board with that, actually.
Basically, before the modern civil rights era, the two leading black intellectuals had a public debate, and George Washington Carver said that, black folk needed to learn job skills and integrate into the society and become valued members of it so white people would respect them.
How dare he?
And W.E.B. Du Bois, who was a communist and also supported Adolf Hitler before we all learned that Adolf Hitler was not a good choice to support, said that black people need to demand full equality immediately.
I actually just need to clarify. Professor X didn't have peanut powers. Magneto did.
Oh, Magneto. God damn it. How did I miss that one? Fuck. All right.
But yes, so while Stan and Chris Claremont, have, different things saying this, but the archetype of the work from within the system revolutionary versus the F the system revolutionary, that's a very bog standard template.
It's not a bad one, because the thing is, people need to remember when we're talking about X-Men that the original X-Men run failed. X-Men 1 was canceled for a reason.
Because the Vanisher was a big villain for a lot of the first run. The Vanisher.
I mean, I'm just going to pipe in here and say, even as someone that knows who that is, I'm going to say, who?
Yeah, no, I know who that is, and there's just nothing more to say.
I was going to pipe in and say, did he leave for a pack of cigarettes?
That would have made the Vanisher an infinitely more interesting character.
My dad never fought the X-Men, okay, guys?
You don't know that.
So continue with talking about the political allegory thing.
Wait, the Vanisher, is that Alec Baldwin's defense about shooting a production assistant?
Yes.
Okay.
So Rune, do you have more you're wanting to go on with the political allegory angle?
Well, I'm only saying that it was a serviceable allegory at the time. It was in fact positive for storytelling. It created interesting things. You wouldn't have, God forgives, man kills without it.
So, real quick, Rune. So my problem with that particular allegory at the time is MLK wasn't like this Buddhist peaceful man that is described in like our textbooks. It's like he said riding rioting is
The language of the unheard.
Yeah, the language of the unheard. That's not something Professor X would endorse. He endorsed responsible and defensive use
It
of
doesn't
powers,
matter.
not going out and
This
just
is-
using them.
Yeah, but
But-
this
but-
is
this is
but-
this is not an apt allegory.
Hold up.
No,
One at a
this is
time,
why
one at a
it's an
time.
allegory.
One at a time, and I'll go first because this is my shit. First off, Martin Luther King, as a human being, is not as he was written in the history books. But you know what matters, Ayrton? What was written in the goddamn history books.
Also, Ayrton, what matters is there's a little thing called the Comics Code Authority at the time when Professor Xavier was created, and a Professor Xavier that said, "Hey, the rioting is the language of the unheard," would have gotten canceled at that point in time with the Comics Code Authority.
Here's the thing, though. That's why it's an allegory. Professor X is not Martin Luther King, direct one-to-one parallel. Never has been. He is what Martin Luther King should have been. He's the aspirational concept of what we
As all
wanted
comic
out of
characters
that.
should be.
And where the problem comes in, okay, is not in modern X-Men how they address that. That maybe Xavier was not a saint. That maybe Xavier made decisions that were wrong or even ruthless.
Maybe he
To
mind
see
raped
his-
people.
Therein lies the problem. Is they take it to 11. It's not just that he's a man; it's that he is the shittiest of men. They have to destroy the virtuous to make themselves feel better, and then they have to somehow uplift the villainous. Which is why, even though the story itself was terrible, if I'm going to ever give Grant Morrison one, fucking bone, he was right. Magneto is ultimately a dried up old terrorist and a bad guy
Yeah,
who should not be viewed as even
redeemed figure.
if he has a point, he's still a bad guy.
Yes.
And we don't need any Zorn. Alright, just Zorn didn't happen. Holy shit.
Zorn was a bad idea.
Zorn was a bad idea.
So have you unpacked your angle in the political allegory?
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. But I wanted to be clear that it's like there's not. The problem is not in the allegory exists; it's when the allegory is used poorly.
But here's the thing: it's a layered allegory, like an onion, like a parfait, or like an ogre. It has layers. So the initial run of the X-Men were the children of the atom, the first children born into the atomic age. They were also the Kennedy post-World War II generation. Until, they got canceled and there was the whole Giant Size X-Men reboot where it was a much more diverse early Gen X, ironically enough, generation that was more multicultural, that was more part of a cosmopolitan world, and where the villain of the story could become the ally and replace the beloved mentor. And that was to represent the politics of that generation. Also, during that time frame, Storm got a mohawk. There were Morlock people under the sewers that were dealing with some stuff because they were mutants who couldn't live with above ground folk. They had to live under the ground as sewer mutants do. Then you introduce things like Mr. Sinister because that's getting into some more 80s, 70s, and 90s biopolitics. Then you get into X-Men during the 90s and 2000s, which takes a strong influence from gay culture and the gay subculture, and that
Except it doesn't.
it adds that into the tapestry. The whole situation with Rain Sinclair, aka Wolfsbane, that's a gay allegory.
Yeah, but I was referring specifically to how one day Hank McCoy is straight, then the next day Hank McCoy is gay because why not?
No, that's not an allegory. There's three kinds of text. There's subliminal, there's liminal, and there's superliminal. That's superliminal text. That was a Simpsons reference for anybody at home who doesn't get that. Join the Navy. So there's generational political allegory in there. There's also class political allegory in there. There's also different conflicting futures where different negative outcomes of the X-Men have come back to the X-Men present, and that introspection of the politics of how we got to this bad past and how do we avoid it becomes part of the politics of the X-Men. But that's not what we're going to get in this Disney Plus show. We're going to get politics written by hacks.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about this show.
Look, what they need to know is they should follow the lessons from when it first failed. You want X-Men to be successful, you make sure it features Wolverine.
I mean, that is also true.
And Scott Summers was a good character.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're serious. Let me laugh harder.
No. Chris Claremont's take on Scott Summers was a good character. But the problem is nobody knows how to write a straight guy, not straight as in sexuality, I mean a straight guy character anymore in comics because they say, well, this is boring. I need him to cut himself and listen to My Chemical Romance.
That's because Scott Summers was always boring, and we never liked him. The entire reason you have Wolverine bloat is because Scott Summers can't lead out of a wet t-shirt contest. Can't lead into a wet t-shirt contest either.
That actually wasn't those comic books. He was an adequate leader. But the problem is he wasn't willing to do what needed to be done around that point in time. And that was what Wolverine's role was to be the stick in his rear saying, no, you need to do this.
Stick in his ass. You can say ass, Larry. You just can't say the N-word with the hard R.
It's not that straight characters are inherently boring, but for a straight character to work well, it needs a good foil. And
which is Wolverine.
They're supposed to be foils, but they actually don't line up very well with each other.
Well, it's because they had sexual tension over a shared woman.
Well, no. The problem is the following. There's a better Summers who never gets used. That is a better foil for Wolverine. And his name is Havoc. Okay? The story goes that Havoc and Scott were both in the
plane.
The child cell.
No. They both were shut. They both in an airplane.
No. They were both in the orphanage. Right? Scott Summers had to do a whole term in the orphanage till he was 18. Havoc got picked up by wealthy parents. Okay? Havoc got to have a personality. Scott Summers, in the orphanage, had no personality besides being mad that nobody wanted him until he met Charles Xavier. Charles Xavier said, "Let me give you my dream." Right.
Also, his being mad represents an angry, disaffected youth, which was the thing in the '60s. That was
angry
part of the character.
Angry disaffected youth is fine, but the problem is that he never expressed that because his deal was, I'm going to live out Xavier's dream, and that's all the personality I have. Which means he
did. That's the whole point of his powers. The optic blast is his, channeling his anger.
I actually feel that if you're talking about foils for Wolverine, I actually, from a design standpoint, think Beast makes a better foil than Summers does. Beast, frankly, didn't even need any of his mutant powers. He was already super intelligent even without them.
No,
he's entirely too passive.
No, Beast always had superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
He was born with them. What he wasn't was blue and furry. That was a lab accident.
But he's the calm, rational approach to contrast to this kind of more militaristic, live in the moment kind of a character. But they still have their moments where they act similarly.
Hold up, guys. We're explaining why Wolverine is the linchpin for the entire X-Men franchise because he's a better foil with Havoc than he is with Scott. The love triangle with Scott makes Scott interesting, makes Jean interesting. He's a good foil for Beast. He's a good foil for Nightcrawler.
Well, no,
hold on, Larry, hold on. You forgot something. He's the best he is at what he does.
and what he does isn't nice.
I was going to say that by this metric, his actual ideal foil is Nightcrawler, because Nightcrawler is both able to go drinking and have fun, which Wolverine does, and is actually civil and intelligent and says, no, we can't murder people because it's wrong.
Which honestly, those are some of my favorite books, are when you have Nightcrawler and Wolverine together,
but also
opposed to each other.
Yeah, but also Nightcrawler could be back to back with Wolverine and fight with a sword.
Right.
That's
the thing. The actual answer here is that Nightcrawler needs his own book, because Nightcrawler's a more interesting character than either of these fuckers.
No one disagrees with you.
No one disagrees with you.
No, not at all.
But wait.
Nightcrawler's fucking awesome.
There's more, because Wolverine is a father-mentor figure to both Kitty Pryde and Jubilee. So literally, the entire X-Men falls apart without Wolverine.
Well,
also, Marvel Comics, if
yes.
you're listening, I'll take the check, split into 5 ways, and make sure that it gets distributed amongst the panel. Make sure one of the checks is bigger than the other 4.
Disney, I'll buy Marvel off of you for $6.73.
I'll throw in the pocket lint that I have in my pocket right now.
That is a running offer.
Since we're being...
Hold on. No. Ayrton, we'll buy Marvel off of them for $6.16. Let's keep it continuity.
After X-Men's run in theaters for all of its movies, I think you're getting ripped off, Ayrton.
You think we should drop it down to $3.08? Cut the price in half?
Here's the thing. Since we're being very silly and talking about garbage comics, can we talk about what could potentially be a good book?
Do we have time?
Well, I mean, we've got time before Church says let's close it, and I mean,
you have 10 minutes.
Rena is in the chat talking about her Indiegogo that's going.
You have 10 minutes,
and I have a closing song ready and queued up. So,
I mean, right. Okay. I mean, I was just saying.
Somebody give me a link, and I'll pull up this book.
Yeah,
I'm just saying we really do need to get her book on the thing.
Yeah, we need to get the link, get her on the thing. Yeah.
If she's
give
still
me the
in
link,
the chat,
I'll put it up.
If she's still in the chat, I don't know.
Hold on a sec. I'll pull up her Twitter and find her sign up. Hold on,
because my thing says 2 watching, and I'm assuming that's me and Ayrton staring at our own chat.
Well, I'm not actually watching. I just have the chat pulled up.
I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not.
We get so many views. Most of them are us.
We peaked the whole 3 viewers tonight, guys.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, no.
All right.
Oh, man. Larry, later.
There's her link for the sign up Black Rhapsody Part 1 mailing list.
Well,
is a musical magical girls versus a Lovecraftian pop star deity and her evil music empire. Which
so again, Lady Gaga?
Yeah, exactly. Which again, I love the premise of this, and I would love to talk to you about.
Wait a minute. Doesn't that just make it like a magical gem?
Yeah. you know, it sounds like Gem, but with heavy metal.
Hold up. Well, there was heavy metal in Gem. And number 2...
Oh, no, there was not heavy metal in Gem.
I'm sorry to tell you,
there was pop metal.
Gem is pop rock, 80s pop rock. It might as well be Cyndi Lauper.
I mean, the Misfits, though, were a little metal.
They looked metal, but they didn't play metal. Which makes them the worst. That's why they were the bad guys.
Look, I mean, you gotta sell out, right?
I mean, that's what they think, but Gem didn't sell out.
She didn't sell out. She didn't sell out because her dad owned the company.
Well, she
God, it's less Lady Gaga and more Beyonce.
All right, I can dig it.
There we go.
If this can, sight unseen, if this can only be like an incredibly dark Josie and the Pussycats, I'm gonna be down.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
You know, They actually talked about doing a Dark Josie and the Pussycats with the
Oh, okay.
bizarre Riverdale TV show
So
universe they created.
she says it's a bit of Madoka magic meets Berserker with a little bit of gem. That sounds amazing. That sounds great.
I mean,
I love
she,
that.
Hold up, we should totally get her on the next show so we can talk to her about that, because I like all those things.
Yeah.
I went through a period of my life where I stayed in a boys and girls club after school, and there was cartoons I watched because I wasn't into physical activity.
I mean, as long as your socks were still on, it wasn't gay.
Well, no, like I watched Gem, I watched Marshall Bravestar, I watched Silverhawk.
Oh God, no! I'm sorry. Proceed. One of those horrible jokes that you just can't share with people.
Am I the only one who gets nervous when he acts like that?
Wait,
no.
Rune.
Rune.
Oh, okay.
No.
They're like maniacal laughing with no explanation.
Well, Larry was talking about being in a boys and girls home, and I'm sure it's entirely
Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
It was an after-school club for kids.
And I'm sure it's entirely on the level. And Ayrton already made the untoward joke about naughtiness. And in the back of my head, a voice said, "Oh yes, everything's coming up, Rittenhouse."
Oof. Oof.
It's like, no, we can't do that. That's no.
Oof.
Black Rhapsody Part 1 is a 35-plus page black and white horror cult thriller comic. The story is about magical idols named after mythological goddesses fighting an uphill battle to overthrow an evil pop star from the music charts and save the world.
As you do.
So it's Gem, Sailor Moon, Madoka Magica, and they're killing evil Eldritch Beyonce.
This new
Tentacle Beyonce.
And also
takes
some
the
Berserk
darkness
thrown in as well.
of Puella Magi, Madoka
Puella Magica Madoka.
Puella Magi, Madoka, Magica.
Yeah, just say Madoka Magica because that's the English translation.
What they said, and combines it with horrific ultra-violence of Berserk, a bit of Gem and the hologram sprinkled in.
I mean, Madoka Magica had its own violence, but it was much more like ultra-violence as done by Salvador Dali.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description.
The art samples are pretty on point. These are legit art samples.
I'm sure this will be a good project to talk about.
Yeah.
And we need to bring more people on who have projects.
I need to get off my dead ass and make a project happen. Although it does appear as though I'm gonna get published in an e-zine, which is like, yay, e-zine.
Oh yeah, that's right. When's that gonna happen?
Not sure, but I'm thinking probably January.
Okay.
Nice.
But if it's at this point it's being described as space permitting.
Okay.
So who knows if I actually get in? But if I get in, it's like, what do I get? Do I get paid? No. Do I get what I get is credit for writing an article. I get a physical copy of the book because I specifically asked for it, and exposure. Ooh. Which, that and $2 will buy me a $2 cup of coffee.
I like that getting a copy of the book is not assumed. That's really great.
I mean, it often is not. That's an industry thing. You actually have to ask for a copy. If it is not in their submission guidelines stated that you receive a gratis copy.
Yeah, but on a print book, that kind of makes sense. But it's not like a digital book costs them anything to add your name to their mailing list.
No, this is actually it's an e-zine, but it does do physical printing for backers, right? So I am going to get a physical magazine with my scribblings in it. It's a issue about the Underdark, and I gave them the Pirates of the Dark Sea stuff. Once I removed all of the setting significant connections from it.
So basically, like how to use this in your Underdark campaign.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to do the Drow and do an interesting and different way, here's an idea of what happens if the Drow cities collapse and the drow move into piracy on a giant aquifer.
That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Suggesting the idea of you take a drider, you bolt metal armor to it, you use magic to put it in a giant air bubble, and then you have it sap enemy ships from below and board that way, because nobody's expecting a giant hole to blow in your ship and a spider to crawl on.
You guys want to understand something sad about today's society?
Everything sucks. Everything's fake and gay.
Well, we've talked about before that I am a cardboard crack enthusiast that plays Magic the Gathering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I play a specific breed of Magic the Gathering called Commander, which requires a 100-card deck, the multiplayer format. You can only play one of any copy of a card besides basic lands. And I have found that those little parts cases that you can pick up from Home Depot or, Harbor Freight,
Yeah,
are perfect for carrying 100-card decks.
they are.
In those little compartments. So, knowing what I understand about engineering, I took a piece of tape and drilled some holes in the plastic in the side of the box and in the side of my playmat carrier, and attached my playmat carrier to my box with a set of zip ties.
Okay.
Because, it seemed like something to do to make carrying all my shit in one time easy. At least once a week, a human being that has the same potential for intellect, if not better, than I do, comes up to me and says, "How did you stick it to the side of your case?" And I'm like, "Zip ties and a drill."
The secret is that real nerds, real geeks, gamer, comic, otherwise, doesn't matter, live at the hardware store. The supposition is that we don't. The supposition is that we're somehow limp-wrist people who don't like cars and can't understand technology. But it's like...
Wait a minute, Matt! No! Matt, no!